From Brian Kaplan's essay, The Anarcho-Statists of Spain. After being told that the workers now owned the means of production, the workers often took the statement literally. What is the point of owning the means of production if you can't get rich using them? But of course, if some workers got rich, they are unlikely to voluntarily donate their profits to other members of their class. This seems elementary upon reflection, but only practical experience was able to reveal this to the economic reformers of the Spanish Revolution. Practical experience gradually revealed a basic truth of economics for which theoretical reflection would have sufficed. If the workers take over a factory, they will run it to benefit themselves. A worker-run firm is essentially identical to a capitalist firm in which the workers also happen to be the stockholders. Once they came to this realization, however dimly, the Spanish anarchists had to either embrace capitalism as the corollary of worker control or else denounce worker control as the corollary of capitalism. For the most part, they chose the latter course. This is a major issue I have with some, not all, anarchists and advocates of capitalism. This idea that there is some hard break where you go from capitalism to anarchism or vice versa, right? These hard breaks, this conception of a hard break, like, is Sweden a capitalist country? No, it's a socialist country, right? This comes from, in my opinion, a language that is useful for a very superficial understanding of political economy for those who don't want to spend time dealing with this useless navel-gazing that I'm doing here. But for those who are interested in the useless navel-gazing, well, you have to realize that the language you use was made by low information observers for low information observers. And to them, vague, superficial phrases like capitalism and socialism are all they think they need. Thus, the first step to progressing beyond a plebeian understanding of political economy is to fix the language. It's not just semantics. Words are the scaffolding of thought. They structure thought. Thoughts, unarticulated, are sloppy and often baldly contradictory. One barrier to fixing language is political bias. Okay. The most obvious is the use of three terms: racist, white supremacist, and neo-Nazi. And so what you have is a group of people who are willing to break beyond a plebeian understanding of political economy, are even willing to make some necessary linguistic reforms to do so, but are unwilling to drop terms like racist, white supremacist, neo-Nazi. And the reason is obvious to anyone who's not in their little world. Okay. For example, racist. Say someone hates blacks. For them, simply describing this will suffice. Saying, in addition to hating blacks, that they are also a racist, well, that doesn't provide any additional information, because racist doesn't provide, well, I made a video talking about how racist provides almost no information, but it also provides no additional odium. Like, hey, this person wants to kill all blacks, Jews, and Mexicans. Also, he's racist, right? I mean, there's no point to that. Like once you describe that position, saying it is racist adds no additional odium or information, right? In fact, let's say you have a person who wants to kill all black people, right, as our example. Now, if you said that this person was racist from the outset, oh, this person is racist. Why? Oh, because he wants to kill all black people. Well, what was the point of saying racist? Right? The immediate response to a charge of racism is why. Why is this person racist? And so you then have to say why this person is racist. But I don't like that phrase. Why the person is racist, because, you know, it assumes that the term racism is even a meaningful thing. Right? What you're doing, you're not saying why someone is racist. Like, here's what you do. You say why someone is strong. Oh, they're strong because of a mixture of genetics and working out. right? That's why they're strong. Okay, you don't say why someone is racist because racist has to be defined in every use, right? It's like saying, oh, you're saying this person is Flagelnorp. Okay, why are they Flagelnorp? No, you're not saying why this person is Flagelnorp. What you're actually doing is you're pushing your personal definition of Flagelnorp, and that's really what you're doing with racist. When someone asks you, so why is this person racist? That's no. You're not saying why they're racist. What you're doing is you're providing your personal definition, right? And but from your personal definition, claiming that this person fits your personal definition of racism. That's what's really happening. You're not saying why someone is racist. That's a non-cognitive phrase. Anyway, but the use of the phrase racist to describe someone who wants to kill all black people, this actually lengthens dialogue, and it provides no additional information, and it provides no additional odium for those whose views themselves suffice, right? So, why use the word racist? What's the point? Why use it? What's the point? When is it useful? Well, to ask the question is to answer it. It allows one to apply to James Watson the same label as Hitler. Racist is an emotional trigger that induces a negative evaluation. It provides, one, no additional information, okay? It provides no additional negative evaluation when the views themselves are sufficiently odious. Example, wanting to kill all Jews. If there's someone who wants to kill all Jews, you don't need racist. You just describe the views and that's that, right? He wants to kill all Jews, but he's also a racist, right? So the term racist is not useful in ascribing odium to those whose views are already sufficiently odious. Thus, the only practical purpose of the word racism is to increase odium when the views themselves lack sufficient odium, right? Now, the most common example of this is race differences in cognition. Now, if you believe in a radical environmental view of group differences, right, not individual differences, right, those are fine, but between groups of individuals, especially if these individuals are visibly distinct or they correspond to the colloquially accepted races, these groups must have identical averages, right? So if you believe in a radical environmental view of group differences, and if you're unscrupulous, you'll recognize that you'll recognize that believing that like all the other organs in all other species with a global range, like for example, if you compared a right toe of an Arctic fox to a desert fox or whatever, if you recognize that all other organs and all other species that have a similar range as humans, the human brain probably exhibits regional variation, right? You'll recognize that this belief in regional variation in an organ, the brain, is not sufficiently odious if it's properly described as such, right? If you say, yeah, humans, they started in Africa, they spread throughout the world, evolved regional variations and regional differences in basically every part of the body, the muscle, the bone, the hormones that are the proportion of hormones secreted, right? Muscle mass, fat mass, where fat is gained, where muscle is gained, muscle distribution, okay, carbohydrate metabolism, okay, and so if you actually describe the views and say, well, in the brain, what is the brain? It's a physical thing. It's not magic, right? There is no soul dancing around, right? Mind is matter. Okay, so I mean, we may not, and this gets into will it prove consciousness or something, but right. And so if you describe it that way, well, and which is, i.e., you describe it accurately, it's not sufficiently odious to describe it for what it is. Thus, you need to label it racist in order to up the odium, right? And so that's how you do it. Which then gets into my views, right? So I think that there should be a white-only country somewhere, right? And so there's somewhere on the planet there should be white land. Right? This is where a country by for whites, de jure, not like Europe. Like for example, Britain today is not a white country. It is a majority white area. It is a majority white country for now, but it is not de facto. But excuse me, it is not de jure a white country, right? It is a country that is open to the world that, for now, happens to be majority white, right? And that's what most maybe there's one or two which has a sensible immigration policy, but in general, that's what the European countries are today. They are countries open to the world which happen to be historically white, which happen to be majority white for now. Okay. So anyway, so that's what I want. I think that there should be a de jure white-only country, right? One that is not, just happens to be 90% white today. Right? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about certainty. I'm talking about, legal certainty that it is going to be white. Now, of course, you can never be absolutely certain of anything in international relations, but at least it is a de jure country that is going to do everything in its power to maintain its racial identity, right? Kind of like how Israel was supposed to be, although Israel's kind of fallen away from that. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here. So, is what I advocate a white country somewhere? Is this racist? Is this a racist view? Well, I would question the motives of someone who asked such a question. Given that I have already described the position itself, well, what does it matter if the position itself is racist? Let's, and I deal with the nonsensical slur nature of the term racist, how it's basically a snarl word. But, fine, drop that. Let's imagine for a moment that there is a coherent, commonly accepted definition of racist and racism. There isn't, but let's just, for the sake of argument, I'll just go ahead and grant that for now. Okay? So what? Let's say that what I'm advocating right here, a white-only country somewhere on the planet, let's say that is, by the one true objective definition of racism that everyone agrees on, okay, let's say that is racist. Okay? So what? Right. The position itself. What does it matter to you that it happens to be labeled racist or not? Why does that label matter to you? Unless you aren't evaluating the position itself, the position in and of itself, but your evaluation of it is based on it being tagged racist or not, right? So even if, let's say for a moment that there is, and I contest this, I don't believe this, but let's just say, for the sake of argument, that there is a one true, objective, commonly agreed upon definition of racism. Okay? So what would be the purpose of calling anything racist then? You could say, well, because it fits the definition. Well, but the thing is, I'm describing white separatism. Okay, so but see, now that I describe white separatism, because racist is a label, right? It is a label to describe something. Let me make an analogy here. Let's say you have a label of something that says microwave, and you have a little box thing, and people look at it and they go, "What's that?" And you put a label on it that says microwave. Oh, okay. But if you get into describing what it is, well, this is a box that sends in little, very high I don't know how microwaves work, but it's like a special type of heat radiation that radiates the food, right? And you describe it, and you go into detail about like the mechanical nature of it, and then someone says, "Okay, but is it a microwave?" Why would you care? Like what if I said yes? What if I said no? Like let's say like I'm basically describing a microwave, okay, and I'm pointing to all the parts and and how it works and everything, and then you go, but is it a microwave? Because if it's not a microwave, I'm not going to get it. Well, look, dumbass, here's what it is. Yes, but does it fit the label microwave? Right? So, and that's kind of what I'm talking about here. I describe my views, both my descriptive views regarding human differences, and my prescriptive views saying that well, I believe all races should, but specifically, white people ought to segregate and embrace a sort of collectivism based on a shared ancestry, right? And I say that whites ought to do this. Okay, well that's that. That's what it is, right? I have over here descriptive views on human differences, and over here I have prescriptive views of white identity. Okay, so and that's what it is. To then go, well, is it racist? Because if it's racist, I'm not gonna get it, or I'm not gonna, what? So what's the point, right? If you already hear the views as the thing in themselves, then to add the label racist, well, it's not going to add any additional information, right? So to say, well, I just want to inform people about you. No, you're not informing. It doesn't, because it doesn't inform. The label racist doesn't inform. It encompasses too many things. So your intention is not to inform through labeling. Right? I understand the value of labels and how labels can inform. Right? But in this instance, if the views are already described, it has no informative purpose. Right? The only purpose it has is an odious purpose, is to make the position odious to people, to turn people off to it, not by dealing with what is being said in and of itself, but via an emotional trigger, via a label, racist. Okay.